Hello and welcome to another episode of the New World Comics Podcast. I'm Buck Berlin, owner-operator of this fine establishment. Joining with me this week is Drew Stone, who's definitely not Stephanie, or, he's usually the guy running the show. So now he's in front of the camera and behind the camera.
At the same time.
At the same time. He's got talents, folks.
Or a time paradox.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm going with the time paradox.
Whatever you want to tell the folks. So, thank you all for joining us again this week. This week we're doing a back issue deep dive, and in some cases a trade paperback deep dive, just because, it's easier than digging out some of the issues, and sometimes we may not have some of the issues at the moment.
Yeah,
but,
some of them can be a little harder to find, too, so it's nice that you can get the collection. There you go.
Yeah. So, Drew, let me introduce you to the world who may or may not have watched all of the 50 however many episodes we've done so far. Drew, you and your family have one of the most extensive collections of comics I've ever come across. Yeah,
we've got just a few. My dad and uncle started collecting back probably in the 60s, and they would buy them, read them, and then never get rid of them. And so naturally everything just started growing from there. And so growing up, I always had a very extensive back issue collection to go through. And then, of course, all the new weeklies coming in. And it has fed a very healthy comic book habit.
Yeah. And it's really cool because, none of you are like, oh, yeah, well, I got that. You never throw it in anyone's face. You never just boast about the thing. You're just like, oh, yeah, we got that. It's really cool. But what's really cool about it? And I love that, because, that's not what comic collecting is all about is, you're not there to throw it in someone's face. It's let me share in this joy and love of this, thing that is.
Anymore, it's not, there's always that neat issue that you get that's very unique for being the issue that it is.
Yeah.
But what I love is the stories behind the issue. How did we come about getting that? How, did we meet the artist on it? What stories did they have behind it?
Yeah, well, yeah, because you and your family, like, go to big cons and you'll meet you'll have the close friendship with Sam De La Rosa now, like, your dad and uncle have the Mike Grell experience down.
Yeah.
Which, later this year we're dressing your dad up as Warlord.
Yes.
So
he's already start working on the beard.
Yeah, just in time to meet Mike Grell.
Yes.
So that's going to be fantastic. I guess for reference, we should say here's a picture of what Warlord looks like.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
So Warlord is just kind of the Mike Grell character, and you could read some of his Legion stuff and some of his, but Warlord's really kind of his thing.
Oh yeah.
So, so to say that you have an extensive comic book knowledge is an understatement. We could sit and riff comics all day because we've read most of them.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
That's half the fun is whenever I pull out a box to try to catalog something or sort something, I wind up reading, it's like, I got a box of 300 comics. Let's read them in here. Oh, I haven't read this in a while. And then I get nothing done.
Yeah, that's why it's way easier to sort the comics at the store than when I'm at home. It's oh man, I've been looking for this one. Man, I haven't read this one in forever. So, ho hum. Well, anyway, let's dive into it. Drew, why don't you talk about the first back issue series, story, whatever you want to talk about.
All right, first back issue series. Obviously, I have a very deep love for The Rocketeer.
Yes.
Saw the movie, immediately went and tracked down the comics, and wow. So what I want to talk about is the Rocketeer Hollywood Horror series, Rocketeer Adventure.
Yes.
And so it's one of the newer ones. It's
IDW?
IDW published it. And that was just a fun ride. I think after Dave Stevens passed away, it took several years as I guess things kind of kept moving around in the background, and they got a team of artists and writers together that really captured the Dave Stevens spirit.
Right, and it didn't feel like a cash grab like these things can be.
Right.
So often it ends up being wait a minute, it's the 5, 10, 15, 20-year anniversary of someone's death. Let's make some money off it now that people are paying attention.
Right, and you turn around and look at it, the character doesn't really act anything like the character, or the art, you're kind of looking there, it's like, it's nice art, but it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, whereas this does.
Yeah, it seemed like it came out of nowhere, and had, the story was down. It was in the same spirit as the original Dave Stevens works. The art lined up very well, and yeah, it's different, but I mean, you could still tell that they paid attention to the style of it, and just crafted a wonderful book that really popped for me.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. As soon as they announced it, it was just oh my god, I can't wait because just the artists and writers that were involved. I think the Hollywood Horror, I think that was Mark Waid, I think. If not, then, I lose some nerd cred. But, but yeah, it is fan-freaking-tastic.
Yeah.
So, which, I mean, there honestly, in the grand scheme of things, there's not a ton of Rocketeer comics out there.
Right. And honestly, I can't really even think of any where I'm like, that one wasn't that great. I mean, every one that I read, it's like
they're all good. Yeah, like it's one of those characters that doesn't have a lot of comics, but the comics that are there are all good.
Yeah.
You're not going to pick up a bad Rocketeer comic.
Exactly.
Yeah, like even the movie adaptation's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
It's very much a rarity. So, okay, in front of me, I have these various comic series. Drew, why don't you pick one and I'll talk about it?
Oh man. Oh, let's see. Let's do the Manhunter.
Manhunter.
Yeah.
Okay. So, man, Mark Andreyko has become one of my writers that I will follow and read whatever he's doing. It'll just kind of pop up on things. Like he's doing Supergirl right now, and it's awesome. But Manhunter came out in 2004, and a lot of the DC stuff at the time was pretty good, but not great every single time. But this one, it just had an extra something to it. So I read the first issue and was blown away, and was reading everything ever since, and was trying to get everyone in the world to read this comic. So our main hero is a lawyer who's going after all of these supervillains, and she starts off in a courtroom against Copperhead, the snake-based supervillain who's killed people, eaten children, just a horrific, awful person, and he gets off scot-free. Just, yeah. And she's just devastated. She's just, I'm tired of this happening. It happens too often. So she decides to take the law into her own hands. So she goes to the police lockup room and finds a super suit and the old Azrael Batman gloves and all sorts of other superhero paraphernalia, and makes herself the new Manhunter. So she goes out and tries to find Copperhead, bring him to justice, and accidentally kills him.
Whoops.
Or does she accidentally kill him and intentionally kills him? So you're just kind of this, wait a minute, what's going on here?
He'll get better.
Yeah, so as the series progresses, she realizes the errors of her ways, and she realizes that, maybe that's not necessarily the best way to do things. And then other heroes are like, whoa, maybe not kill everyone. There's better ways to go about this and to do all this. And if you're a fan of Alias, if you're a fan of the Spider-Woman series, any of those the Bendis Daredevil series, any of the street level grim and gritty comic series, this is definitely one for you.
Nice.
Yeah. So So that's Manhunter to me. It didn't go on too terribly long, but there's a lot of series that DC was just kind of cutting the axe on it if it didn't hit within a certain threshold, and it just kind of fell by the wayside. But she just showed back up in Event Leviathan, so it's really nice to see her back into the mix of things. Oddly enough, written by Brian Michael Bendis, who was writing Alias and Daredevil and things like that. So it's a nice fit for him. So yeah, all right, your turn. What else you got?
Ooh, okay. Well, also got to go with the Tick. I mean,
yeah. Of all the comic series that you get, I'd say that Rocketeer and Tick are probably your top.
Yeah, those are my top. And yeah, anything new with the Tick that happens to crop up, it's always on the pull list. What I've got here is the complete Edlund collection. That is the start of the Tick. Now, I say the start. His first comic book appearances outside of the New England Comics newsletter.
Yes.
So, I mean, this kind of sets the stage, introduces all of our favorite characters, really kind of gives him the hate for ninjas in there.
Does that have the one where Arthur has to teach Tick about Hanukkah? Or is that after?
That may have been in one of the specials.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah, there was also a whole series of specials that came out. The Halloween specials are especially fun.
Yes.
Yeah, there's just a whole ton of them. But yeah, the complete Edlund. Because let's face it, some of the earlier ones are like I said, a little hard to find.
Mm-hmm.
And so this collection, available at a certain comic shop near you, New World Comics, for those that...
I mean, the intent is to always have the Tick in stock.
Yes.
It falls into that vein of, like, it's a parody comic that is serious about being a parody comic.
Yes.
He's not unlike, I've been on a big Flaming Carrot kick lately, and he kind of falls into that. It's poking all the right fun at all the right things, and still maintains a charming innocence to it.
Well, absolutely. So, like, in the first issue, you've got a character named Clark, who is a reporter.
Yes.
Who is also somewhat invulnerable and may or may not looks like a certain Superman that's around. That winds up being a fun character, and kind of the excellent pairing with the Tick up until we get Arthur, which is like, as soon as they show up, you're like, they're meant to be. That's.
Well, I was watched the cartoon, and then when I got a job here, it was you can actually get the Tick comics. Oh my god! So I had my big stack of Tick comics. I was like, all right, do I want to go into all this? Because there was so many other things that I hadn't read.
Right.
And then someone just passing by was like, you know what his alter ego is, right? Right? No, what? His first initials are IP, last name Daily. IP I was like, and I was 17, so of course it was hilarious.
Right.
And I was in. And then I read it into it's so much more than just, stupid jokes like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the kind of deep commentary on superhero comics, and yet they still have fun with it. It doesn't go dark. It doesn't go gritty.
Yeah, and it at no point is it look how dumb the stupid thing is. It's just we know it's silly, and look at all the silly fun you can have with the silly things.
I mean, I'm just saying, you've got the cartoon and then eventually translates in. Well, actually, yeah, later on in the book, you have Chair-Faced Chippendale, a gentleman that has a chair for a head.
Yeah.
And he's magnificent. Just one of my favorite villains. Mm-hmm. I mean, how could you... He writes his name in the moon.
Yes.
Tries to.
Yeah.
Tries to.
Cha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, it's so out there that... Yeah.
Well, and the letters are so huge that he couldn't have...
There was no way. You'd have to spin the moon around and write, finish writing chair on the backside.
Yeah, and that's all you'd have room for. Yeah. So...
Yeah. It's like, well, that wasn't well thought out, and yet absolutely a magnificent evil plan.
Yeah. Oh man, we need to make that costume sometime.
Yes, we do.
It's doable.
It's got to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I just realized I think I have more comics than you do.
Just a few.
Yeah.
That'll
How's
make it
this?
fun.
Pick one or two, and I'll talk about those.
Okay, let's go with the Infinite Crisis.
Infinite Crisis.
Yes.
Okay, so this is absolutely positively my favorite DC crossover.
Mine too.
So, it's the most thought out that any of the crossovers have been. It's the most work that's been put into a thing. It's for an entire year, almost everything that DC put out was at the very worst good. And you'd see little things happening in the comics and little panels like, hey, is that Pariah? Did Pariah just show up? Hold on, wait, did I just see Dawnstar flying through space in the hold on here. What's going on with this? And DC wasn't commenting on any of this. It was maybe it was a misprint or an artist script or whatever. But no, like all this was leading to Infinite Crisis. And it kicks off with this $80-page back issue special. And I was so excited because it was all about Blue Beetle. And Ted Kord Blue Beetle is absolutely one of my favorite characters. Spoiler alert. In this issue, he dies. He dies bad.
He died in a way where you don't get better in comics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I was devastated, and it was okay.
Where are they going from here?
Yeah, but
yeah.
Oh, it mattered. Oh, it kicked off everything.
Yep.
Which is perfect because, he was one of the characters that the Watchmen characters were based off of, and it was kind of one of those analogs that kind of carried over, and his involvement spurred so many other things, and it was just this really nice, look at them being meta and not meta, and it was just kind of picking and choosing and making this perfect thing. So you find out that the survivors of the original Crisis, Earth 2 Superman and Lois, the Superboy Prime, and Alexander Luthor have been watching and carefully maintaining the universe and making sure that all reality was safe. And they decided that the rebooted DC universe wasn't doing a good enough job. And in issue 1, it has the most savage thing that Batman's ever said or done. Because, Superman and Wonder Woman and Batman are all in the rubble of the Watchtower talking about, man, we're really screwing up. And Superman's like, man, we need to give everyone hope. And Batman looks over to him and he says, Superman, the last time that you inspired anyone was when you were dead. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. He's your best friend and you just said that. Oh my God. So the whole thing kicks off with them trying to get Superboy Prime punches reality and shatters it all and tries to break out and lead this super heroic life that he hadn't been able to do since he's been trapped and just all this stuff. And then he gets corrupted and just all this stuff happens and everything that had been going on in the past 3 or 4 years all led to this. And it was just phenomenal. Just everything that you didn't know that you needed or wanted in a comic happens. And oh my God.
So this was the first major DC event that I remember. And then of course I had to go back and read the original Crisis.
Yeah.
The Crisis on Infinite Earths and everything like that. But the Infinite Crisis, that was the first one to really stand out for me. That's like, oh man, what, like you said, it just kind of blew my socks off and kept right on going.
Yeah, well, and just the horrific deaths of the various Titans, and then later on you find out that some of the Titans were created just to die in that. It's what a sad existence. Like Wildebeest, and then he gets killed, and then as soon as his mom sees, like, then she gets killed. Like, it's just awful.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh God, someone needs to take out Superboy Prime. And it's, oh man, I need to reread it. It's so good. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, that's
Yeah. It's 7 issues, 8 issues if you count the one shot. And then any of the other things that tie into it.
about 1 million tie-ins.
Yeah.
But worth it.
There's a hardcover collection that has everything in whatever order you need to read it in. Oh my God. Yeah. Out of this, we got like the Secret Six. We got the oh my God, Shadow Pact. Yeah. It essentially the the newer, cooler teams from the DC universe all came out of that. So, whew, yeah, man, I love that so much. All right, what else am I going after?
All right, let's do Mutant X. That's
Mutant X.
Yeah, right there in front.
All right, so this is absolutely one of the most underrated X-Men spinoff series. So, Havoc Summers, or Alex Summers, Havoc, Scott Summers' brother from the X-Men, went a little crazy for a little while and started becoming a bad guy and joined the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants.
Yeah, probably a little frowned upon.
Yeah, it's really kind of bad when you've led your own X team for a while and your brother is the leader of the X-Men. So, I mean, what are you gonna do? So he's doing bad things, and then eventually gets sucked into a different dimension randomly.
As one tends to.
I mean,
happen.
It's the X-Men, so
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? These things happen. So he gets pulled into this dimension where bad things have happened to almost all the X-Men, and they have made kind of bad decisions, like. In one of the storylines where Storm was fighting Dracula, all that, she decided, let's stay a vampire. So she became Bloodstorm, which is like the most 90s sounding name of all time. Iceman had no problem with just killing people. He was touching people to freeze them and just awful, horrific things. Beast kept experimenting on himself.
Yeah, that went downhill.
Yeah, so he's green and like more ape-like and like has like hooves, and it's just this and it's kind of this weird medium where bad evil Havoc turns out to be okay, and it's kind of the thing that brought him back. Because, he was kind of good here, and it made him realize, oh, wait, no, here's my journey to grow into the hero that he was supposed to. And it's 27, 30 issues. It ran for a couple years, and then, they decided to axe it. But there was a show that came out called Mutant X. Absolutely nothing to do with this. I don't know why they were like, yeah, Mutant X is the name of a show we need to do.
Like, this is a great premise. Let's take the title and then reinvent everything from scratch.
Right. And it's one of the X-Men series that doesn't really get a lot of love, and a lot of people just kind of skimmed over it just because the time that it came out, Marvel was trying everything, and most of the things didn't really stick. But, I mean, a good rule of thumb is if it makes it past 25 issues, it's probably an okay series.
Yep. That means at least somebody out there is reading it. And
right.
Somebody's having fun writing.
It has had 2 years to, and has missed the cancellation train 3 times at least. So, but yeah, Mutant X, tracking down issues are everywhere. It's not hard to find, and it's amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah. I should make a pile here so I don't accidentally end up talking about everything else twice.
All right. So, my next one?
Yeah.
Batman, Elmer Fudd.
That's, that came out, last year? Year before?
Year before, I think.
Yeah, it's the best issue that came out that year.
It was one of those comics where you're like, really? How does this fit? And then as soon as you read it, you realize I needed this in my life. It's
in Batman continuity.
Yeah. You'll start noticing all sorts of little things peppered throughout. The bar.
Yeah, Porky's bar. Yeah,
showing up in the background.
Like the bartender is Porky. But it's the human version of Porky. But it still looks like Porky, and it's beautifully drawn by Lee Weeks, who does just enough alteration to make you know who the characters are supposed to be, and not make you think twice about them being involved in the world.
Right. I mean, you look at that and you're like, yeah, I could totally see them running around Gotham. Bugs Bunny, a certain gentleman that likes his carrots.
Yeah.
That just...
The moment that I knew that I was in and that I loved the comic, first page, Elmer Fudd's going like super dark and noir, and his monologue ends with "Pray for me."
Yes, yeah, that's and the best part about it. I'm reading the monologue. I'm hearing Elmer Fudd's voice. As you go through, and it's like, yes, this is it. And
it's absolutely positively one of the best things.
I mean, he decides he needs to kill Bruce Wayne or Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Yeah, just amazing. Just
the speech impediment is the thing that helps sell the whole thing, because he's saying very much mature things in his Elmer Fudd voice.
Yeah, and yet, you're like, this is still Elmer Fudd.
Yeah, it's not completely out of character. It's just it's this unfettered Elmer Fudd.
Yeah, that's got that darkness that would fit into Gotham.
Yeah, because I mean, when you look at it, he's a pretty dark hunter.
Yeah,
he's just vicious and going after a bunny.
Yeah, so take that. Instead of going after the bunny, he's going after Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. 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 Man, honestly, of the back issue deep dive, you win. That's everything else is very good compared to that. That is greatness on paper.
Yeah. That was one of those that you can't come across it and you're like, what is this? And then, if you can find it, read it.
Yeah. The entire Looney Tunes crossover was great, except for the Bugs Bunny Legion of Superheroes, which, I mean, when it comes to my favorite things in comics, Fantastic Four and Legion are my favorite. And I'll admit it, that Legion Bugs Bunny crossover was terrible.
Really fell flat.
Yeah. But like the Marvin the Martian and Martian Manhunter was great. The Tasmanian Devil and Wonder Woman was great, where he was one of the monsters of the gods. He was just inspired. It's because again, a lot of the crossovers, most of the time, stupid cash grabs.
Yeah, you see it and you're like, how do these fit together? And then you read it and you're like, this shouldn't have happened. And honestly, I went into this thinking that.
Yeah.
And I was very, very wrong.
You're very wrong. Yeah. All right. Wow. All right. Well, now that you've won, what am I talking about next?
All right. Jonah Hex. We got to go with Jonah Hex.
All right. So Jonah Hex is a snarky. There's no nice way to say he's a snarky bastard. He's just mean and gruff, and one of the toughest dudes around.
He's having a perpetually bad day.
Yes. So he got horrifically scarred with acid, but if you ask him, there's always a different answer. Oh man, Jonah, what happened to your face? Toothpick accident. Oh God, Jonah, what happened to your face? I cut myself shaving. His eyes all popping out.
I mean, in all fairness, if you get asked that almost daily,
you're
just going to start having some fun with it at some point.
Yeah, hurt myself sneezing. Yeah, just whatever. Yeah. So the he had always been kind of the Western mainstay of DC Comics until the late 80s. They decided to throw him in the future. And they tried to like update him, make him cool and, super futurist tough guy. And then at the end of it, they did the smart thing and threw him back into the past, which everyone who's picked it up since has had a lot of fun with, because he's not a guy who would like change how he's going about and tell everyone like, oh, the future does this. He's just well, that was interesting. What's for dinner? Yeah. So this series, the Justin Gray, Jimmy Palmiotti series, every issue is a self-contained single issue story. You can pick up any issue, pick it up, and you have a full Jonah Hex story. And they're all great. With the caveat, not the caveat that they're all great, the caveat being that there's a 6-part miniseries inside the series where it's a story about every bullet in his gun at one point. Every bullet is the story of the person that he had to kill with that particular bullet, and it's just over the course of I think 6 days, like it's him. Yeah, and it was the perfect that should be a 6-issue miniseries. How perfect is that? And it just goes through this world where Jonah doesn't necessarily need to grow as a character. He's such an interesting character that it's more him reacting to the world around him, or maintaining or trying to change the world around him, because he's such a steadfast character.
Right.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, I can't recommend Jonah Hex enough. So yeah, it because most people see Western comic and then they think, oh, I bet she's gonna go fight some Indians because racist cowboy comics. No, man, this is brutal tales of the Old West. He's out for justice. He's out for his own. He's out for what's right or what seems right at the time.
Makes it fun.
Yeah. So let's see. I got 4. You got 2? Oh no! All right. How's this? Pick one more, and then we'll trade off.
All right. Got to do the Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. All right. So Spider-Man 18 through 23 of the 90s run, or I guess it started in 91, the McFarlane run. So he left. Yeah, he left. I think by issue 16 or 15, 16, something like that. And then Eric Larson got a chance to tell his story, because he and Dave Michelini wrote the Return of the Sinister Six, which was really weird that we hadn't seen them in like 20, 30 years at that point. So it's Doc Ock, Hobgoblin, Sandman, Mysterio, Electro, and I should have been Vulture. So it's all them, and they all got together, and Spider-Man defeated them handily in the Amazing Spider-Man series. This time they come back and they have a big plan, and it's going crazy. And it involves a whole bunch of really, really fun aspects of Spider-Man's life. Like he re-teams up with the new Fantastic Four from the new Fantastic Four 2 issues in the Fantastic Four series, where it was Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, Hulk, and Wolverine. But Wolverine couldn't make it into this, so they replaced him with Deathlock. Yeah. Oh, it was great. And then like Solo's constantly showing up and screaming, "While terror lives!" Oh God, what's he scream? It's while Solo lives, terror dies, or something like. He's just this maniac with a gun and a teleporting rig. Like he just pops in, shoots anything and everything, and pops out, and he's just like, die terror, see you later. The Smart Hulk is there, and he's trying to stop this dock from collapsing from the the shipment of weapons that comes through. Sandman gets turned to glass by Dr. Octopus because he starts having second thoughts about being involved, because he had just become like an Avenger at the time. So then they recruit one of the classic Marvel monsters, onto the Sinister Six, and he's just absolutely giant. The Fantastic Four show up all the time. Like Mary Jane's trying to wrestle with this acting gig where they're trying to get her to do super sleazy movies and stuff like that. So like he's trying to comfort his wife and console her while his superhero life is going all out of control, and everyone's asking him about his birthday that's coming up. It's just all this weird pressures on Spider-Man. Like I don't know which thing to focus on and try next. So it's a perfect 6-issue miniseries, and absolutely one of my favorite Spider-Man stories of all time. What else you got?
Oh, what else? What else indeed? Jeff Smith's Bone.
Yes.
So, I've got here the collection of Old Man's Cave, but I would really, really, really recommend getting the entire tome, the complete collection.
Yes.
It's, what'd you call it, 2 inches thick, maybe 3?
At least, yeah. It's Bone, the 1 volume.
Yeah. It is a complete collection, and man, is that an epic read.
It's ridiculously fun and sweet.
Yeah.
Like that is how you describe Jeff Smith's comics.
Yeah. So, you've got the characters that look like they popped out of a Sunday morning cartoon strip, and then they've been injected into real life, kind of real life scenario with dragons and these giant rat creatures.
Yeah, and like awful things do happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, like it's just.
But it maintains the good humor and innocence throughout. That.
Yes.
That it's charming.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah. It for a while it got passed around through Scholastics even. Mm-hmm. So like it's good reading for kids. It's good reading for adults.
Yeah, I think they're still publishing with Scholastic. So it started out as an independent comic, and then got picked up by.
I know Image had
Image,
it.
Image picked it up, and then you had the collected works come out, and then Scholastic has some of the more recent re-releases, and then doing color versions of it. So it is a black and white comic. The color is great too, but honestly, either way, it works because it's a magnificent story.
Yeah, I love it so very much. Yeah. And it's not the only Jeff Smith thing to look out for. Like everything that he's done is like that same standard.
Yeah.
Rose is great. His Shazam story, the Captain Marvel, the Monster Society of Evil.
I really liked Tukey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like I mean, if you see Jeff Smith's name on comics, go for it.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah. So all right, so that leaves you with 1.
Yep.
And me with 3. All right.
Close enough.
So all right, so I'll talk about 2 things, and then we'll go. Let's see. I'll leave this for my last thing. So pick between these 2.
Let's go with the Generation X.
All right, Generation X. All right. So this came out the perfect time for me as I was becoming a teenager reading X titles. So this was My New Mutants, which comparatively pales in comparison, but at the time it was for me, and it was everything that I cared about, because like Jubilee was the young X person for me while watching the cartoon growing up, and then oh man, look, she's getting taken out of her traditional role in the X-Men and put into a school with all of these other kids who are brand new, and she feels like she's being slighted and being taken away, even though they're like, no, you're going to be like the inspiration for everyone else. And then everyone else is like, wait, so you know about all this? And she's just like, whatever, I'm just like everyone else. And you have Cannonball's sister put on the team. You have Chamber, who's like lower half of his face blew off because he has awful powers, so you kind of get this like not everything's perfect for everyone thing going on. You have this poor kid with 3 or 4 feet of extra skin that hangs off of him, and he can't really control all of it. So he can kind of sort of stretch, but also he always looks like he's 200 years old because it's just always sagging. You have Banshee, who had been kind of removed from most of the X-Men comics, but it had always been like one of the main players in the X-Men until the 90s, and they were like, let's just take him out of here. No one really cares. And then you had White Queen, who had just recently decided, you know what, I don't need to be a villain anymore. She had some time in Iceman's brain, and that affected her somewhat. And then she was like, nope, let's go on the straight and narrow. So you have an ex-villainess and an ex-X-Man deciding to start their own school and teach the new class of kids in Massachusetts.
What could go wrong?
Right. So, like in the first issue, one of the new recruits, Monet, her evil brother decides to come by and try to eat one of the other kids, Penance, who turns out to be Monet's sister. And okay, so for Generation X, I recommend issues 1 through 25 and only 1 through 25. Because slowly but surely, or quickly but surely after that, it devolves into the horrible tangled mess that only X-Men can kind of get themselves into. You find out that like Penance is actually the twin sisters that Monet is talking about, and Monet is actually Penance, and the brother is killed or involved somehow, and it's this really weird switch up of things. Warren Ellis oversaw had a few ideas and handed off to a different writer that was trying to make sense of it all, trying to give it that sales boost that it needed, and it just didn't work.
You wind up needing one of those boards with all the strings and pins to try to.
Yeah, then they gave it the mercy killing that it needed. So, yeah, ho hum. Then the next to last thing that I want to talk about, Dan Slott's SheHulk, which if you love comics and if you love comic history, my God, this is absolutely the book for you. So SheHulk was one of the first characters to break the fourth wall, as everyone is a fan of Deadpool for doing. So in this book, you find out that this book tries to make sense of a lot of Marvel continuity, and it pokes fun at all the stuff. The name of the law firm, is the Stanley and Jack Kirby's real names as the firm. The awesome android decided that he no longer wanted to be a tool of evil and wanted to be a good guy, so he's Awesome Andy now. But he didn't. He wasn't made with a mouth, so he walks around with a chalkboard and a piece of chalk so he can talk to everyone.
Nice.
Yeah. You learn about the time authority that will go through and make sure that things are maintaining the timeline, and SheHulk has to go and change up some stuff and stop some things, and she becomes a lawyer for them at one point. At one point, she has to fight the champion of the universe, and she realizes that if she works out as Jennifer Walters when she turns into SheHulk, she's just that much more stronger. And it's just little clever things like that throughout the whole series that makes it awesome. So yeah, if you love comic books just as comic books, Dan Slott's SheHulk. Oh my God.
Nice. And is that an Alex Ross piece on the back?
No, that is a Greg Horn.
Nice.
Which, he has, had a bit of a backlash for some of his arts, but, I think that these work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. All right. So, my last book, it's the Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Recently released as an animated movie.
Yes.
The comic was great. The movie was great. I think it captured the excitement very well.
Yes.
Reading through the book, you wind up, again, with the characters, you can hear them in their interactions, and then they really did a good job bringing that to life in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So you wind up with the Turtles showing up in Gotham and meeting Batman for the first time. And you can kind of imagine how that goes down. There's the initial smackdown between them, only to realize that, hey, they need to team up,
Yeah.
as they must do, between Shredder and Ra's al Ghul,
Yeah.
which makes for a pretty impressive evil villain team.
Yeah, which it's so weird to be in this day and age where the company crossovers are quality books. You know, as we've previously said, like, you know, while we were growing up, they were trash. They were just god awful money grabs.
Yeah.
You know, go look at the Spawn Batman. Go look at the Batman SpiderMan. Go look at, I don't know, everything except for Punisher versus Archie, because that one's awesome. Yeah, and now you have just all the talent on these things, and everyone's really excited about it, and you know, puts their passion into it.
Yeah. I mean, you could see it just take off in the comics, and then I mean, it generated enough excitement that they immediately turned around and started work on the movie.
Yeah, which is, you know, crazy. You know, because DC usually doesn't let people cross Batman over with stuff in other media now.
Right.
Like comics, they're like, okay, cool.
I mean, back in the day, you'd see the occasional Scooby-Doo Batman crossover.
Yeah, but that's because they were working with, you know,
Right.
Hanna-Barbera for Batman cartoon stuff anyway. But,
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it made it easier with that. But with this, I mean, you've got IDW that has the comic rights for Turtles, and
Yeah.
Nickelodeon with
Who owns Ninja Turtles now, yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got DC/Warner Brothers with Batman.
Yeah.
So seeing that kind of cross-company cooperation
Yeah,
was
it's-
impressive in and of itself. And then you get such a quality book out of it, and then they turn around and just take it the step further
Yeah.
with the movie.
Yeah, let's make a cartoon movie out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man. All right, so final thing we're going to talk about. Well, unless we end up talking about other things, but we can cut that out.
It could happen.
Yeah. I don't know about your life. I don't know about my life. Anyway, Doctor Strange, The Oath. So it's Brian K. Vaughan and Marcos Martin and all of the greatness ever. So this is by far the best Doctor Strange story, like the just miniseries story that you're going to find. It starts off with Doctor Strange getting shot by an assassin with who used Hitler's gun with a magic bullet.
Whoa.
So yeah, they're like, how do we like intensify the levels of magic? So he's freaking out because he can't necessarily stop that kind of magic.
Right. That's obviously somebody that's done their research, too.
Yeah. So he's trying to figure. The whole book is him going through figuring out who's trying to kill him. He has to team up with the Night Nurse, which is another Marvel back issue deep dive. And you know, she's one of the people that can save him, and he's trying to guide her while he's astral projecting, and she's getting super frustrated with him, and it's amazing. I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being a movie unto itself eventually. Like they picked a few things out of here for the Doctor Strange movie, but I could see this being its own thing eventually.
I would hope at the very least an animated feature, but it would go so well with movies.
I mean, as long as they're not doing, was it Lionsgate or Legendary? The Marvel had these string of really awful animated movies.
Oh, yeah.
It was like the Kid Avengers, and then the Doctor Strange, and then the Ultimates 1 and 2.
Those out.
Yeah, they're bad. I mean, really, really bad.
Yeah. I think DC's got us spoiled with their animated features. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, oh man. All right. So I ran out of comics. You ran out of comics. I think we've had a podcast.
I believe so.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening to us ramble on about back issues. It won't be the last time because
Oh yeah, we've got more.
Yeah.
More in store. There's always there's so much good stuff around. I mean, just if you're ever curious about anything, pop on in out here at the shop.
yeah, we're always more than happy to tell you what's good. I'm always happy to tell you what's bad and what to avoid because I don't want you all leaving with bad comics. It doesn't help anyone.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah. So for more stuff, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram,
Spreaker, Stitcher, YouTube's,
iTunes, Google Play. We're all over the place.
Yeah, find us. Tell all your friends. Threaten your enemies, but that's just for your benefit. And check back next week because we're gonna have some more insanity and other things to talk about. So thank you all for listening and/or watching if you're watching, and we'll see you all next week.